Welcome to Anime Anonymous. I am CJ.
And this is Ace.
And you are listening / joining the only AA meeting that actually encourages your addiction. Me and Ace were just talking a little bit before the show started. And I was telling him yesterday, I was telling my wife, I was like, tomorrow's episode is going to be hilarious. Just because usually Ace sends me a text, like if he's watching something. And I sent him 2 and I got nothing.
So I was pissed. I was literally so mad that he put me on this show. And it's weird because I literally saw it before, but I just didn't remember it. But then by like episode 3, I'm like, I hate him. And then I saw the text message. I literally threw the phone in the pillow. I'm like, nope, I'm not responding to you. So stay tuned for this one.
Yeah, I was about to say, we'll get into it. But for those of you who maybe this is your first episode, this week we are reviewing the anime called Another. Now, I don't look at all these different things. I mainly just describe the genres as I see it, so I could be totally wrong. But the top 3 genres for me on this are obviously like school, horror, and mystery. Because there is some mystery solving going on. And that is, I personally think that's one of the most interesting things about this anime is the mystery side. Like, the horror side, okay, like, I get it, but I like the mystery side. I like kind of working through the puzzle. It's 12 episodes long, and they all, if you cut out the opening theme, which I like that theme.
I skipped it every time.
He does not like it, but I like it. It's almost like opera mixed with, I don't know. It's just good, in my opinion.
I skipped the intro and the recap.
But yeah, it's 12 episodes long. Altogether, like I said, probably every episode's maybe like 20, 22 minutes. But yeah, so I give our little summary, but we're just going to jump into it.
Yeah, this one really doesn't need a summary. Just after this podcast, y'all should just watch it so that you understand completely.
Or maybe our different opinions / Ace's hot takes.
Don't put me out already.
We'll decide if you do or do not watch it. At the end of the day, that's our whole thing here, to encourage you to watch it. Or, you know what, you're like, after hearing them, maybe I don't want to. Whatever. You can always talk to us about it. Again, our Instagram is xanimeanonymous, X. And our Twitter is xanimeanonymous as well. You can hit us up anywhere on those, in the comments, DM, whatever. We're down to chat. I'm generally a lot more active on the Instagram one, but if you shoot us a DM or tweet us, I got you. So anyway, we start off this anime in an interesting way. Probably one of my favorite entries into an anime because it's actually 2 characters talking. They're like, oh, did you hear about what happened 26 years ago? And like this guy's talking to this girl, and she's like, no, like what happened? He goes, oh yeah, someone died. And they're like, oh, that's crazy. And they're just telling about this quote unquote curse that happens with this class. And even the girl who's listening to the guy, she's like, this is creepy. Like, I don't know if I want to listen to this. And he gets through all of it like, oh yeah, her name was, or they say her name was Misaki. She was a student loved by everybody. And the girl's like, oh yeah, you get one of those in every class. And he was like, yeah, but she died. And it was a huge weight on the whole class until one person said that, no, she's still there. And the girl's like, what? That's kind of weird. And he was like, yeah, but then everybody started saying it. And fast forwarding through a little bit of their back and forth, they said at the graduation, even the principal set out a seat for the dead Misaki, and they take a picture of the graduation class, and boom, they see Misaki's face. And the girl's like, oh my God, that's really creepy. And then the dude says there's another part to this story, and then it ends, and the anime starts with the protagonist, whose name is Koichi, I think. Again, I said this. We're not Japanese.
Yeah, we're not Japanese.
I'm gonna be butchering all these people's names. It's whatever. But Koichi, I'm gonna tell you just off rip, he's not really a great protagonist. Like if Koichi was a pizza, like if you ordered a Koichi pizza, like they just give you the base. Like that's it. Like there's no sauce, no toppings. Like my man just bread.
But honestly, I don't think he needed to be that great of a protagonist, because the rest of the show was just so intense, so dramatic, such thriller, horror, investigation. I think they did pretty good.
Yeah, he was just kind of meh for me. But to your point, yeah, I don't think he had to be a crazy strong, either personality wise or anything. But it starts off with him in the hospital, and he gets visited by some of the students from the school, and they're like, "Oh, hey, yeah, we know you were supposed to start." I want to say they said like on a Monday. Doesn't really matter, but that's just the day that's popping in my head. And he said, "Oh yeah, no, I got sick," and it's awkward because they're all three of the students. Two of them, funnily enough, the girls, I remember their name. The guy, I don't really remember his name. But the two girls there, one of them is Izumi, who you later find out actually in that scene, she says that she's head of countermeasures, and he's like, head of countermeasures, like what is that? And they don't tell him
At all.
Yeah, and then the other character, her name is Yukari, and she introduces herself as something. I can't remember what it was, but they all basically welcome him. But they're also grilling him. It's the weirdest. They're like, "Hey, so have you ever been here before?" Yeah. "I don't think so." They're like, "Did you ever live here?" He's like, "Again, I don't think so." And they're like, "Do you have any family here?" He's like, "Well, yeah, I'm here with my grandparents, because my dad's in India," which his dad's weird. His dad calls him in the weirdest ways. He goes,
"It's hot."
Oh my God, it's so hot in India. It's like, what?
I had no idea their relationship.
Yeah, he was the only weird part of it for me.
I actually enjoyed those phone calls.
No, they were
that's
funny.
When it relaxed me.
Yeah, no, they were funny.
Yeah, they were great breaks for the digestion of what was happening in each episode. So I actually appreciate those phone calls.
Yeah, no, it's not a bad weird. It was just for the tone of the anime.
Definitely.
Because there's a whole nother scene jumping way ahead, but where he's daydreaming, and it's him and Misaki dancing in the classroom.
Oh.
And I'm like, what is this?
I didn't.
And then he's just like, "Oh yeah, I'm daydreaming." I'm just like,
I can't. But I thought that was him almost falling for her.
Well, no,
because they both became.
What
was the term? Forgotten.
They're basically ignored, but they didn't exist,
right?
Non-existent or whatever. Yeah. But that part was like, huh?
I thought it was a play on their relationship, and
it is, but it's just huh? But we just said a character's name, May, and you get introduced to her in one of the weirdest but coolest ways, in my opinion.
I didn't like it at all.
So our main character, Koichi, he's in the hospital because he had a collapsed lung, and he's going to the elevator. He wants to catch it, and he catches it. He gets in. He's looking at his phone, and then the camera kind of pans to in front of him and looking back, and you just see this chick standing behind him. She's deathly pale, and she has an eye patch on, and he doesn't notice her. And then he turns. He goes, "Oh, my bad." She doesn't say anything. She doesn't do anything.
Creepy.
She gets out on the basement floor,
the lowest level,
and it's he's like, "Hey, I see your school uniform. Do you go to such and such?" Doesn't say anything. She's carrying this creepy white doll, and she starts walking to this area where it's super dark and black.
Yeah, the area with the boiler room.
Well, yeah, that's morgue. What. Yeah, he looks up and he sees boiler room morgue is going that way. He goes, "Hey, wait, like, what's your name?" And she goes, May Misaki. Right. And you're like, oh, that automatically makes you think of the first story that you hear of the person who died named Misaki. And then she just disappears like in the darkness. Like, and you're just like, what is going on?
It was definitely scary.
Yeah.
I mean, not scary, but scary.
It was not scary, just scary. It's fine. But then you know it's following basically like the next episode. Koichi, he goes to school, right, and he introduces himself, and everybody, they look like they're almost NPCs. Like they don't move, they don't do anything,
no response, blank faces.
Yeah, and then he goes and he sits down, and then he looks and he sees May sitting in the back. And then they have like PE or something, and he's still not feeling well, so they have him kind of sit out, and he actually meets and talks to this one kid named Ikuo, and he said, "Hey, you." Ikuo says to Koichi, he's like, "Hey, you look like you want to run." He was like, "Yeah, I actually like running, but I can't because he had the collapsed lungs, so they're just kind of being easy on him." Ikuo tells him he has a heart condition. He's like, he was born with it. He's never been able to run, but he always wants to. So Koichi, main character positivity. He's like, hey, maybe one day you will. And Ikuo's like, okay. And then he just like leaves. And Yukari, again, shows up. She starts talking to the main character. He goes, hey, like, where's the girl with the eye patch? And like, they do that anime trope, basically, where, like, the eyes kind of, like, widen, and then she, like, has, like, a little, like, sharp inhale breath or whatever. Yeah, it's hard to describe.
Like a quick gasp.
Yeah, she's like...
of, like, a surprise.
Yeah, and then he goes, yeah, like, May. Like, do you know anything about May? And she's like... She looks up at him, she goes, who?
Right.
He goes... And then so he looks...
She actually did that pretty well, though.
Yeah.
Playing dumb.
Yeah, she was playing dumb. And so he looks up, he sees... a figure, and he's on the roof of the school, and he's like, oh, he recognizes it. May. He runs up there, which not supposed to be running, but whatever. He runs up there, he starts talking to her, and she's like drawing. He's like, oh, are you drawing? She like hides what she's drawing. He's like, oh, so what are you doing? Like, why are you up here? She's like, I hate being questioned. He's like, oh, my bad. and they kind of go back and forth, but she basically says, you shouldn't be talking to me, right? And I kind of drawed out these parts because the first 3 episodes are a little bit slow, right? They're building, they're doing like a little bit of world building, and it's creepy. And like the first 3 episodes
is so weird. Like literally, it's like these weird puppets that are not built. It's literally bare bone puppets just flashing in between scenes. Yeah. You're like, what is this?
Yeah, it's kind of jarring.
And then like if you listen, so I took the headphones off. First off, I was not watching this with headphones on. I literally had it coming out the computer, and it was like this eerie, high pitched screeching noise. Like it was so intense of like the suspense and the horror. It was. You definitely felt. I felt uncomfortable watching it.
Yeah, that's the whole point. I think while they are the slowest ones, I want to say the first 3 and then like the next 2 are like the best ones.
Well, the third episode.
No.
The third episode was definitely not slow.
No, I swear that's the 4th one.
Nah,
it's not.
It's the 3rd episode.
Right. Well, no, because I think it's the ending of the 3rd and the beginning of the 4th.
Right.
And you're about to find out why we're saying it's not slow. So, basically, in these episodes, Koichi's being an idiot. Like, everybody's kind of, without saying it, but they're being stupid too. Like, they're obviously ignoring May, but they're not telling him why.
Right.
And so he keeps going after her because, one, he's a main character, and, you know, he's just dumb. But
it's still kind of weird, though.
No, it is weird.
Because I would literally be kind of similar to him. Like, why? Like, she's clearly here.
But then he doesn't ask. He doesn't ask either.
No, he is asking. They're not saying anything.
Not technically. Like, he didn't, like, he's asked maybe, like, twice, right? So, he did ask Yukari. Right. And she's like, who? And then after that, he basically doesn't ask again. But then, it's more so on them. They should have definitely told him, like, hey,
in the hospital,
don't talk to this chick.
Right.
And they didn't. So, it's like 80% them, 20% him. Because he just keeps chasing after her because she literally tells him, you shouldn't hang around with me or talk to me. Next day, hi. She goes, so you want this to happen? Like, she basically says that. And she's like, you know what? It's probably already happening. He goes, what is? And she doesn't really. And so her thing is, what, nobody's told you? And he's like, told me what? She was like, I guess it's understandable that they haven't. And he's like,
right.
And then me, I would have been like, tell me what?
Right. I would have been.
And he's just like, okay. I'm just like, no, tell me. I need to know.
Right. Like, I don't know. It's so consistent because it wasn't just the class, it was the professors.
Yeah.
It was
yep.
Almost even the other students in a different way, in the sense that, like, when she's around different classmates, they just extract the class, that group of people that's around her out the classroom. Yeah,
but, like, I mean, later on, like, you see other students, it's only class 3, really.
Right,
like,
right.
And the teachers.
Right.
The teachers. Like, the teachers kind of know it. Like, other teachers kind of know it, but then they kind of want to skirt around it. Yeah. But, like, the other classes, they kind of know about it, but one of the quote-unquote class rules, which you'll hear all the way through this anime
till the end,
is you need to keep the class rules. You need to keep the class rules. You hear it from the teachers, you hear it from the students, and then you hear it from Koichi's aunt. Her name's Reiko. She was a student at North Academy before, and she goes, most important thing is you need to keep the rules. They are not for the individual, they're for the whole. And he goes, like, that's what annoyed me a little bit about him. He's like, I think I can handle that. And then he just goes and
completely does not listen to
let me just go talk to this girl. But
that's another thing. If she was literally a part of the class, which she was, she knows the school rules. Why didn't she just tell them, hey, there's probably going to be a person in the class that you're not supposed to talk to?
Because that would make too much sense. That's the thing that I say to people every time. We don't use real world logic in a lot of these animes, okay?
I'm like, I hated her.
This anime did not have room for your real world logic.
Now, when I say, and I'm just going to preface this early, if I say someone needs to die, someone should have been killed, watch the anime, then you'll understand. I am not advocating violence or promoting death or anything like that. It's specific to this anime. Just want to make that clear.
Yep. So anyway, we're not gonna say who or what. All right, we ain't spoiling this.
No, I'm spoiling.
But then when Ace was talking about it, it kind of pops off. So basically, they're in midterms, and May, I can't never remember how they say her name.
Yeah, say
May. She finishes early. Well, so does Koichi. So he gets up, and people are like looking at him, and he goes and talks to May again. He's like, "Man, you're always finish early." Like, he was like, "Also, you like left early the other test too. Is that okay?" She goes, "Yeah, it's fine." And then I think she either says it like, "Ask your question," or he asks her. He's like, "Why is it like everybody is ignoring you?" And she says, "Are they ignoring me, or maybe you're the only one who can see me?" And like, you hear this creepy music in the back, and he gets that like wide-eyed look again, and he goes like, no, you have to be real." And then we get we get the scene. So, Yukari, she has to...
It's the nurse, right?
No. Yukari is the girl that said who when he asked.
Right. Okay.
So Yukari, for some reason, she gets called out of class and she's running. So she runs at first to the right. Well, to the right is both May and Koichi. See, I already forgot man's name.
Hey, I'm mixing up the the scenes. I'm like that was episode 3 or 6.
So she sees May and Koichi standing together. She kind of has a little freak out and runs the other direction, because there's stairs both ways, and she starts running. And she tries to run down the stairs. She
has an umbrella in her hand.
Yes.
It's sharp.
Yes.
With like a 3-inch metal thing at the top of it.
Yeah. So, which on our umbrellas, it's almost like somebody watched this anime. We got them rubber ones. But I have seen old school ones where they have those things. That's another thing that I didn't honestly really recognize until I started looking at dates and paying attention to dates. This anime is based in 1999. Did you realize that?
Did not realize
that.
But that makes sense of why they had those type of umbrellas, their style.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So, like, his mom was in class 1972, which is where it started. Yeah.
Makes sense now.
Exactly.
So, in my defense, this anime was so intense with, like, the drama. I wasn't processing none of the important details that that CJ is gonna bring up in this conversation. Like, literally, this was so intense. I literally was just trying to get through it, but I think it was still a great, like, quality anime.
Yeah, I think it is, but
let's get back to it.
I was like, you're not gonna try and whoop-de-wop me, all right? We're gonna talk about this scene. So, my girl does not practice safe walking. She runs, slips down these stairs, and it goes slow motion. She slides down the stairs. She flips slightly. Her umbrella flies in front of her. She rolls, and the umbrella hits the bottom of the stairs and pops open, and you see her. She can't do anything because she's free falling. Yep. And then you see it, you see her, you see it, and then you hear this guy. you hear not boom. And this is actually not
had to keep you on your toes.
And we really should not be laughing at this part because it's really sad. But
I'm only laughing because of the way it made me feel.
But boom. She gets impaled through her neck. And it is gruesome.
Gory.
Yeah.
Bloody. Gruesome.
So, when I originally watched this anime, I saw it on an anime website, so it wasn't edited. So, I've seen that. But on Crunchyroll, they do kind of black it out. But even then, it's still gruesome.
I didn't see it on Crunchyroll.
Yeah, I know you watched it like I originally watched it. Yeah. But I watched it on Crunchyroll because I like to see if they do edit stuff.
I'm surprised Crunchyroll even aired it.
Yeah, they aired it, but it was kind of like a slide black screen. And she's like, but even then, you still see her kind of like squirming and you hear the noise and you're like, oh my gosh. And the teacher and Koichi and him, they run and they see her and you just see blood on the umbrella and stuff.
And on the floor, just slowly just exiting her body.
Yeah, and you're just like...
And Koichi's grabbing his neck, like, in discomfort, and I'm grabbing my neck, like, ugh, I feel you, Koichi.
Yeah. And then that's that. And then you get introduced to the curse, which we're not going to go through every single episode, but I wanted to kind of walk through those because then you figure out that the curse is whenever that story that they were telling at the beginning, it's true. And what happens is whenever they did that, whenever that kid said, oh no, Misaki's right there, they technically brought that class closer to death. So that class invites someone who died back into it. The catch is, though, the dead person doesn't know they're dead. The dead person has memories. It's even been said that they have a soul. And everybody's memories get altered. So they remember this person. And 3, you can't even look at the rosters because it's always somebody who died previously within the class or some association with the class. So, and they should be on the class roster. What happens is that person's name disappears from the previous roster and shows up on this one.
Yeah, the current one.
Yeah, so they always, and it always happens right before school starts because what always happens is the school, they count, like, let's say end of the, and it's ninth grade. So like end of 8th grade, they're like, oh, okay, we have 19 kids on the roster. They get 19 seats. Well, school year starts and 20 students are there. And they're like, wait, that doesn't make sense. We only had 19 before. So they can't figure out who the dead person is. But what they came up with, which is why May was being ignored, was that if you ignore someone, it stops the curse from happening. Well, what's the curse? Every time a dead person came back and they didn't do anything about it, someone in the class or they said, what is it?
Immediate, extended
Yeah, it's
family?
like 2 iterations.
Yeah.
So it's like your immediate family, and like your grandparents are susceptible to it. So at least one person dies each month until graduation. They didn't figure out they didn't. And the thing is, what's always said about it though is it's not a evil curse. It's not like they're not coming back with any malintent or something. It's just that's what happens because you have invited death in, it's uneven, so now people start dying. What they then figured out, which had a success rate of like 50-50, was that if you ignore someone, doesn't even have to be the dead person, but if you ignore one person and act like they don't exist, it now, quote unquote, drops the class back down to the original number, and the curse doesn't happen. So that's why May was being ignored. Well, they go through it and they basically stop ignoring May. Well, at first, they actually start ignoring Koichi to try and see if that stops the curse. Because they're like, okay, well, if we ignore 2 people, then it should double the effectiveness of the quote-unquote charm of this. No, didn't work. People still kept dying. So they're like, okay, well, screw it. Ignoring you guys isn't helping. And they're like, this is your fault. And the one girl, Izumi, the head of countermeasures, that's what she told Koichi to brace himself for. She was like, people are going to say it's your fault because you talked to her and you shouldn't have.
Even though they did not tell him.
Yeah, even though they didn't tell him. And the only reason they didn't tell him is because he had already talked to her once. You know what you do? You say, hey, bro, like, I know you did it, but don't do that. Like, don't.
Right.
You remember those rules? Not for the individual. You're being very individual. Like,
Exactly.
Be for the group.
That would literally be the perfect explanation. And then the rest of the series wouldn't even have been a problem for me.
No. They said, nah. We're going to ignore this guy. So, basically, like, yeah. You're following the mystery with, at first it's Koichi and May trying to figure out what is this curse and who is the dead person. Right. And so that's the whole premise. While people are still dying, like now the scene that Ace was talking about was Koichi had a nurse friend, and her name was Sanai or Senei, whatever. She was really cool. Yeah. I really liked her character, and like he and her were both into horror, and so she would give him like horror books to read. Well, she was trying to give him like information about the school, about the stuff, because because I think her brother was in class 3,
right?
So she's like, oh yeah, you go to school with my brother, which Her brother should have told her, hey, don't talk to that guy.
No, that's the rule. I thought the brother wasn't able to
tell
tell the family.
No. He don't need to tell the family. Just tell her, hey, that guy you're talking to, stop it. Stop.
Yeah.
Just, like, he didn't even have to say much. Well, because her delving in, and then she asked her brother. Like, she asked her brother, hey, does May exist? She's like, I don't know that person. I don't know. She doesn't exist. Blah, blah, blah. Right there. Just, you see how I'm freaking out right now? Right. Stop talking to that guy.
Right.
But no. She keeps talking, and she gets into the elevator, and she's talking to Koichi, and he's like, hey, I can't hear you. She's like, oh, I just got in the elevator, it's staticky. He goes, oh, yeah, that makes sense. And then just, boom. Final destination.
Yeah, wires start breaking off the elevator. The power literally is about to go out. And this elevator is crashing down fast to the bottom of the elevator. And it literally crushes this girl.
And you hear her die on the phone. She doesn't die immediately.
Yeah, slow.
You hear it, and it's rough. Yeah.
Painful death.
Yeah.
And that was like the end of episode 3, beginning of episode 4. They replayed it like you're gonna forget that recap. I'm like, what is going on with this?
Yeah. And then it just starts ramping up. Like they keep trying to solve stuff.
And then another person dies.
Another person dies. Then homeroom teacher comes in, and he's like, I've been trying to do my best to make sure like that you can be okay. And he's like digging into his bag, and you're like, yo, what's going on with this guy? Fast forward, dude chops his own throat all open and kills himself in front of the students.
In front of class. Like, how can someone... I know y'all haven't experienced this, but...
I would hope not. Jeez.
A professor comes into class after... I think he killed one of his own family members.
Yeah, he killed his mom because he'd been taking care of her for like 3 years or something.
Yeah, and then comes in and then kills himself in front of the class.
Yeah.
And I'm just like...
Yeah,
CJ,
they were saying...
What do you have me watching on my great weekend? I was so pissed. Like, you guys don't understand. Like, I literally had a great weekend. I would get into it, but we talking about this show, but I had a great weekend. And then I'm literally, I put on the show. I got this person dying, this eerie, weird music playing, this person dying, boom, boom, boom. I'm like, CJ, I hate you. Don't text me. Don't call me.
I almost did call you. I almost did. I was like, let me call this guy.
I was going to literally put him on mute until the whole weekend is over. And I'm like, I'm not talking to him until we do this podcast on Monday.
Yeah, but no, it's crazy. And like, it does start ramping up. Like I said, almost like Final Destination-y. You see some different other deaths. Not going to obviously focus on every single one of them. But what you find out later on, I want to say maybe around 8 or 9, you find out that this guy actually stopped the curse midway through the year, which is unheard of. Like, it's never done that. If it starts, it keeps going.
Yeah, until you graduate.
Yeah, until graduate, somebody dies every month, at least one person. And so they go to try and find him, and they find him. His name is Katsumi, and at first he can't remember. And without naming names, in this episode, they actually give you a hint as to who's the dead person.
Yes.
They do, because he and an individual are talking, and he's like, didn't I, like, just see you in something? And they're like, nah. Like, it was probably the, maybe like a memorial service or something. He goes, no, I've literally only gone to funerals. Mm-hmm. And she goes, oh, maybe it's some other chick. And he goes, no. But like, that's like some foreshadowing. And then another death happens, and it sets him into like a psychotic slight break.
I'm gonna spoil it. What happened was, the kid was swimming in the ocean after a beach ball, and a boat comes by and chops his head and his body up while he's swimming. This is a gruesome anime. Like I have to tell y'all what is going on because y'all gonna be looking at us like we're gonna have to do a synopsis and a summary before we recommend and watch any of these shows that you are suggesting. This show was gruesome.
Well, but yeah, so like he dies, and then you find out Kasumi remembers what he did. He basically recorded confession / background on how he stopped the curse, which you find out basically the last 2 episodes that you have to send the dead back to death. Right. As soon as you kill the dead person, it stops. And everybody except for you basically forgets about the person. But you, for a while, still remember the person. But everybody's memories basically get fixed. They don't get there. They were altered before, and now they come back to normal. The dead person's name goes back to the book area where it was supposed to be. And that's how they notice who died. Because I was wondering, I was like, how does the librarian know who died if everybody's memories are altered?
Yeah, I think it either goes to the bottom of the page or...
Well, he writes it to the bottom of the page because he realizes whose name moved.
Was erased, yeah.
Yeah. So even though he doesn't remember the person, he can see like, oh, this person's name disappeared. Mm-hmm. So that just opens a whole can of worms. So they tell it's Koichi, Mei, this other kid, and the idiot. I'm just going to call him the idiot. His name is Noya. He's like the ace, but he's a moron. They all find the tape. They listen to it. They hear that. And so Noya's like, oh, so all we got to do is like kill the person. And Koichi's like, so can you kill a classmate? And he goes, he was like, yeah, that's what I thought. Fast forward.
He kills a classmate.
He tries to kill this dude, and he busts down the door that Koichi's at. He's like, Koichi, do you remember? I don't know. Let's say the guy's name is Dave. He's like, do you remember Dave? He's like, yeah, I remember Dave. He goes, I think I messed up. He's like, what did you do? He's like, well, Dave was acting real sus, man. And like, I asked him, he didn't remember anything. So I pushed him off the balcony. And they're like, you did what? He's like, yeah, man. But then, like, I came here to see if you remembered him. You remember him, so I think I messed up.
You think? So
they
start trying to kill each other.
Yeah, they try to go find this guy because he's like, well, maybe he didn't die. Well, yeah, turns out a lot of people heard this tape that shouldn't have heard this tape.
Oh, yeah, that was weird.
Because
it was supposed to be just
supposed to be just them. Noya and like the other kid, I can't remember him. He looks like a girl. That's all I remember. They brought it to Izumi because she's head of countermeasures, so she needs to hear it. Well, she brought her friend, and her friend listened to it. Well, her friend's psycho. Right. As soon as old dude died by the boat, she had a mental break. So she goes around. They start killing.
She starts it all.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, we gotta kill.
She plays the tape over the loudspeakers, and she said, the person who needs to die is Mei. And she has a stupid reason for it. Right. But she's like, I know that she's the one that... So, return the dead to dead.
And they all are with the smoke.
Yeah, everybody just comes out off rip. Just like, all right, let's kill her. Like, and...
No discussion, no dialogue. I was just ready to just...
Literally, the last 2 episodes is just people trying to kill each other and dying in some messed up ways. This one girl dies. She falls off the second balcony.
The other kid gets blown up by fire. That's to a crisp. I'm like, are y'all serious?
Because there was a fire going on in Backdraft. So he opened a closed door and the fire blew out. So anyway, so they go through. People are killing people. Mai figures out who the dead person is
early and didn't say anything.
Well, technically, it is that is a little bit of hinky.
I was tight.
But like she at first didn't really know who it was because what you learn is she has an artificial eye and it can see the color of death. She doesn't have that eye open at school, so she's done it in school before and she couldn't find it in any of the people around.
Yeah, the students.
But then she finds out who it is and doesn't tell Koichi for obvious reasons. And then basically, long story short, they find the person, they kill them, and basically everything's reset. Now, those kids that killed each other, they killed each other.
Oh, yeah, so, they're not coming back.
Yeah, they're not coming back. That's not being reset, but it all resets, and then it kind of just ends with Mai and Koichi walking. So, that, in a 40-minute nutshell, is another. So, I know my rating on this. So, I'm curious to see what your rating is. So, what would you rate this?
I'm in turmoil because, honestly, like, now that I can reflect on the show, it was definitely a solid anime. So I would probably rank it maybe like a 8.5, which seems high. But I'm just gonna give my biased opinion. I personally would rate it like a 3 or 2. I did not like the experience of the show. Like, I'm not really like afraid of violence or death or killing or anything like that, but that just wasn't my forte. Just
it wasn't your cup of tea
at all. I'm like, this ain't for me. I'm like watching this with the lights on, no headphones in. had to take breaks and literally watch a positive show in between some of the episodes. It took me way longer to finish this series than it needed, just so I can like have a clear, positive mind. But what do you think? What's your ranking?
I'm probably gonna give it a 7.
Okay.
Because and for a couple reasons. One, I only rewatched this for the podcast, and I thought it was gonna be funny to like hear your take on it. But I would recommend it to somebody if that's like their genre that they like.
I'm not recommending it to nobody. I don't think anybody.
But I will say the story, I think, is a little slow at the beginning, but I get it, the world building. But then I feel like the ending is just starting to be gruesome for no reason. Like, I feel like the story kind of gets a little bit lost there. But I do think the music was really good because it gave you that tension. Like, when there's no tension that needed to be or that needed to happen, it still felt like something was going to happen.
Right.
And then when it wasn't needed, it wasn't there. So I think the use of the music was really good. And the mystery part of it I liked. Now, you could see some of it coming. Like, you could see a lot of the deaths coming, like, in my opinion. So, but the mystery side, I liked. I liked that a lot. But, so, yeah. So, I'm going to give it, like, a 7.
So, you were able to guess them deaths? Because
some of them.
They were just like, boom, boom, this person did, this person did, this one throwing off.
Some of them, I was like, yeah, that person's about to die. Like, that's about to happen.
Man,
but,
it was crazy.
But we are going to have a really positive episode next week.
Much needed.
See, we're going to give Ace a great positive.
I need a vacation from this.
So we had mentioned this a while ago on actually the first podcast, which was Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai. Well, there is a movie, and it's called, I had it up, Rascal Does Not Dream of a Dreaming Girl. Came out in 2019. It is an hour and a half, and I think Ace is really going to enjoy it, and I think you guys will as well. So please tune in next week when we review that movie, and let us know, again, like I said, Twitter, Anime Anonymous, and Instagram, Anime Anonymous X. Let us know what you think about another. Let me know if you've watched Dreaming Girl and what you think about it. And anything else, any other recommendations or anything you might have. But until then, I've been CJ.
And this is Ace.
And we'll catch you next AA meeting.
And there's no information on crypto today because nothing has changed. So.
All right. See ya.
See ya.